I'd like to call our October 18th, 2019 Board of Commissioners meeting into session. At this point in time, I'd like to call on Deputy to the Mayor, Steve Sandlin, to come and lead us in prayer. Our chaplain has had a little outpatient surgery and a little raspy voice tonight, so calling on the Deputy to the Mayor. And then he in turn will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and to the pledge to the Tennessee flag. Deputy Mayor Sandlin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings that you have given us. We thank you for watching over us, guiding, guarding, and directing us each and every day. Father, put your healing hand on these commissioners that have ailments. Maybe you know who those folks are, and that you'll put your healing hand on them, whether it be cancer, whether it be heart conditions, arthritis, and all the many other things, stress. Father, be with them, encourage them, bring them back to full recovery and health. Father, we thank you for this great county we live in. We thank you for this great state we live in this great country. We pray that you will bless each and every commissioner here and all the ones making the decisions with the mayor and everyone else, that you do these things that's going to encourage and bless Rutherford County in a great way. Father, we love you. We pray that you will continue watching over us. Give us forgiveness and forgive us of all of our sins. In Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Three white stars on a field of blue, God keep them strong and ever true. It is with pride and love that we salute the flag of Tennessee. Roll call. Madam Clerk,
We have a quorum, 21 present.
record the roll. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have a quorum. Before we get into our next agenda, I'd like to introduce to the Commission and to our guests, make all of our guests and friends welcome tonight. We do have a new member of our staff that'll be serving the County Commission that you all approved back during the budget. That's Ms. Ashley McDonald. Ashley, if you would please stand up and please make Ashley welcome. She is our new, we called her at the time that we hired her the PIO, but she left, and before she actually came to work, she went to Emmitsburg, Maryland, and spent a week and became the first MPIO, which means that she has a master's in public information officer, and she's the first MPIO in the state of Tennessee, so we're very glad to have her representing us and being our voice, our one voice for Rutherford County and this Rutherford County Board of Commissioners. So please make her welcome. Thank you, Ashley. This time I'd like to call on Chairman Pro Tem Jeff Phillips for approval of our minutes.
Thank you, Mayor Ketron. The original minutes that came out had a couple of errors listing names that dealt with the committee assignments. Those have been corrected, and therefore I move that we dispense with the reading and approve our September meeting minutes.
I have a motion. Is there a second? And we have a second. Any questions? Seeing none, without objection, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Next we have public comments. Mr. Michael Moreland. Mr. Moreland, if you'd please come forward and to the well and Moore, and you're recognized, and remember, we have 3 minutes. You're recognized in the well.
Rutherford County Commissioners, I would like to thank you for the prayer, the pledge, and allowing me to speak. My name is Michael Moreland, and I live in Tennessee also. I don't live in your area. I was actually asked to attend this meeting from a previous resident of yours that now lives in New York City. This concerns the destruction of the graves that occurred not long ago, a week ago. I hope you know what the rule of law is. I'm sure you do, because that's what we're here, to execute the rule of law. The law allows you to tax and regulate the area that you live in. It also controls what you can and cannot do. No one person, company, or commission is exempt from the rule of law. It's real basic. The destructions of the graves have broken many state laws. This includes laws that are felonies. This is major stuff. This is not Mickey Mouse stuff. Some laws it broke are misdemeanors. Again, I don't want a felony. I don't want a misdemeanor. After spending several days reading the news articles and spending the day going to the different departments in your government here in this town, I did that today. I met many, many nice people. It is evident that the damage done to the graves was not in error. Repeat, not in error. The current landowner was told by the man he bought it from that it had 2 different groups of graves on the land. You had your historical man, Mr. Gooch, I believe I pronounced that correctly. He also informed the landowner about the graves. He also informed the construction company about the graves. Those with not being worked on and still doing the damage is felony charges. Worthy crimes, and I want the landowner charged with a felony. This is application of the rule of law that we all live by, every one of us. Is this easy to do? No, it's not. Uniquely, Tennessee has 2 sets of laws about burial sites. I'm not using the word cemetery because all the graves are on one deed of land. I went and acquired that today. I acquired maps of that land. One of the grave sites is marked on those maps. He has no excuse, none. I get mad just talking about it. I don't think that you can give this man an exception because all this land, 1/4 of it, well, it's a rectangle, but anyway, 1/4 of it, the longest side, is bordered by a main highway. Now for the nasty part. I want to know who gave permission to resume work on the project. Simple as that. Because how can a local representative, without contacting the state of Tennessee, and I don't know if he did, I'm just asking, or did not, or she, I know we got some ladies here. How can you give permission for a state? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morton.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming. Next, members on the agenda is elections and confirmations. We have Chairman Pettis Reed, Vice Chairman of Steering. Elections and confirmations. You recognize Commissioner Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, you have on your iPad the list of notaries, and you've also received this by SharePoint. Commissioners, you'll see these, and I'll move that they be approved at this time, Mr. Chairman. I so move.
I have a motion, and I have a second. Any questions? Without objection, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Steering Committee wishes to confirm the reappointment of Jerry Sartain, term to expire October 2022, on the Rutherford County Beer Board. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion, and I have a second. Any questions? Seeing none, without objection, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Steering wishes to announce one vacancy for alternate on the Rutherford County Beer Board. Steering wishes to confirm the reappointment of Gary Farley, term to expire October 2024, on the Board of Zoning Appeals. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? Without objection, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Steering wishes to confirm the reappointment of Joe Masoto, term to expire September 2022, on the Rutherford County Codes Enforcement Adjustment and Appeals Board. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? Without objection, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carries.
And Steering wishes to announce one vacancy on Codes Enforcement and Adjustments and Appeals Board. This concludes the elections and confirmations, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Next is a resolution to approve the consent agenda. Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you, Mayor Ketron. We've had a request to remove item number 7, transferal of remnant parcels at Rocky Fork Middle School to the town of Smyrna, Tennessee, to be removed from the consent agenda. I move that we remove that.
There's a motion and a second to bump item number 7 on the transfer of remnant parcels of property to the city of Smyrna. And a second. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed. That'll be bumped to the next full commission meeting. Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you. I've reviewed all of the items that are on the consent agenda. I find them all to be appropriate, and I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Have a motion to approve the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Mayor Ketron, that item number 7 that we removed.
I'm sorry.
It's been.
Excuse me. We need to go on the board on that. We need to vote on the board. So we'll be on the board to adopt the consent agenda as amended. If you would, please cast your votes, members.
Anyone that did not
That's
vote
okay.
and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
To record the votes.
21 yes, motion passes.
Item number 7 was asked to be referred back to property management for further discussion before it's brought back next month.
Thank you, sir. All right. Questions? Okay, next on the agenda is unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business at this time? We still have 15 minutes to go before our public hearings at 6:30, so we'll go ahead and move on down the agenda. We'll move to reports by standing committees. Item number 1 is Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee. Chairman P. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. First item on our agenda is a resolution to amend the general fund. And resolution decrease the unassigned fund balance $10,000 for funding for the Census Committee and increase expenditures for CNSS and other charges $10,000. Resolved this 17th day of October 2019. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Have a motion and a second. Questions? A second. Any objections? We're on the board. Please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Yes, motion passes.
Board to vote, Madam Clerk. Next item.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is actually a request for a case manager. Whereas the Rutherford County has received a grant through the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services for the provision of the Tennessee Mental Health Recovery Court Program in the amount of $30,000, which requires no local matching funds for the period November 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. And whereas the grant will be used to provide partial funding for an additional mental health court case manager. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the county mayor and all other appropriate officials of Rutherford County, Tennessee be and are hereby authorized to execute a grant with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, a copy of the same being attached hereto as Exhibit 1 and incorporated herein by reference as if set forth herein at length verbatim, for the provision of Tennessee Mental Health Recovery Court Program in the amount of $30,000, requiring no local funding, and additionally that the general fund be amended as follows to recognize the proceeds from the grant and to appropriate said proceeds. Increase revenues $30,000, increase expenditures $29,345, plus the related benefits, which will bring out of unassigned fund balance $10,685. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I have a motion. Is there a second? And we have a second. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, we're on the board. Please cast your vote, members.
Mr. Chairman, this next one is the TIF, and that's probably
Hang on.
going to take a while.
Yes, sir. Hang
You
on.
want to skip that one and go to the next? Or?
Yeah, hang on just a second. Let me get this vote recorded. Do you vote? How do you vote, Chairman P?
Yes.
Okay. Record the vote, Madam Clerk.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
21 yes, motion passes.
Record the vote, Madam Clerk. Yes, sir. Why don't we roll the item number C? Well, we've still got 10 minutes.
Probably have time to get the next K1D if you want to skip to that, if that's okay with the committee.
That'd be fine.
Okay. Resolution item
Without
K1.
objection, we'll move into that. Chairman P. Go ahead.
Dixon's in. Item K1D, whereas there is a need to renovate the former judicial building to be used by the county departments, and whereas the design of the building has been completed, and whereas the estimated cost of funding the architect and engineering fees, construction, and furniture and fixtures is $4,200,000. Whereas the Rutherford County Public Building Authority, the PBA, will oversee the project subject to and contingent upon approval of a contract with the PBA. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that funding for the architectural and engineering fees, construction, and furniture and fixtures for the renovation of the former judicial building in an estimated amount of $4,200,000 $200,000 to be authorized from a future bond issue, and that the PBA will oversee the project subject to and contingent upon the approval of a contract with the PBA. Resolved this 17th day of October 2019. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? We're on the board, members. Please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote, Madam Clerk.
21 yes, motion passes.
Okay, moving on now to item K1E. This is the money for the archives that's been presented to our committees. Whereas there is a need to plan, design, and construct an addition to the county archives building to house the historical records of the county, whereas the design of a two-story building addition has been completed, and whereas the estimated cost of funding the architectural and engineering fees, construction, and furniture and fixtures is $2,281,000. And whereas the Rutherford County Public Building Authority, the PBA, will oversee the project subject to and contingent upon the approval of a contract with the PBA. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that funding for the architectural and engineering fees, construction, and furniture and fixtures for the addition to the county archives building in an estimated amount of $2,281,000 be authorized from a future bond issue, and that the PBA will oversee the project subject to and contingent upon the approval of a contract with the PBA. Resolved the 17th day of October 2019. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Got a second? Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, we're on the board. Members, please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Board to vote, Madam Clerk.
21 yes, motion passes.
We'll go ahead with item K1F, and this is similar to the first two, in that this is funding, however, for community care. Whereas there's a need to renovate a portion of the community care of Rutherford County facility to bring it up to the standards of the remainder of the facility. And whereas the estimated total cost of the renovation is $1,334,138. And whereas the Christy Houston Foundation has pledged $609,058 in equal payments over 3 years to fund a portion of the renovation. And whereas the remaining cost of $725,080 will be paid equally between the county, community care of Rutherford County and the Rutherford County General Fund, with the total cost being paid up front by the general fund and reimbursements received over 3 years by the other parties. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that funding for the renovation of a portion of community care of Rutherford County facility in an estimated amount of $1,334,138 be funded from the general fund, and amounts billed to the Christian Houston Foundation and community care of Rutherford County as hereto stated. And additionally, that the general fund be amended to as follows to appropriate funds for the renovation project and increase expenditures, transfer to other $1,334,138, and a decrease in restricted fund balance of $667,069, and also a decrease to unassigned fund balance of $667,069. Resolved this 17th day of October 2019. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Commissioner Piercy.
Very few times I ever have anybody come and thank us for spending money like this, but on this particular occasion, I've had 3 different families come and praise the community care operation and thanked us for considering spending this money to improve it. I think it's money very well spent. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. That means a lot. Take a lot of pride out there in that home. And this new addition renovation, and with the board of Christie Houston giving us the grant, it will be well spent. So thank you for those comments. Any other comments or questions? Any discussion? Yes. Commissioner Cook. Yeah, grab your microphone.
Some of you may not know, but we, the county, owns the building, and then we have someone to take care of the patients inside.
That is correct. Good comment while we're spending the money, right? Okay, thank you. So we're on to board members. Please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Board to vote, Madam Clerk.
21 yes, motion passes.
Chairman, I believe we might squeak in this other one if you want to continue.
Let's squeak it in.
But this is item K1G. Basically, we'll be paying for what we just voted for. A resolution authorizing the issuance of interfund capital outlay notes in the aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $22 million of Rutherford County, Tennessee, making provision for the issuance, sale, and payment of said notes, establishing the terms thereof and the disposition of proceeds therefrom, providing for the levy of taxes for the payment of principal and of interest on the notes, and providing for a reimbursement from federally tax-exempt obligations. And if you look down in Section 1, if you're following along with me, I just wanted to make a note that this money will be used for general capital project funds and other capital project funds in principal amounts not to exceed $7 million of this $22 million. And also the remaining $15 million will be used for schools. Let me flip over to this back page. If you're interested in reading all that, of course, it's all there, but I want to skip that if that's okay. And I move that we adopt this on the 17th day of October 2019. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, we're on the board. Please cast your vote, members. Here. Good.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Board to vote, Madam Clerk.
21 yes, motion passes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. We are 1 minute away from our public hearing. It's now 6:30, time for our public hearing. I'll call on our County Planning Director, Director Doug DeMasi. Mr. DeMasi, you're recognized in the well.
Thank you, Mayor Ketchum. Good evening, Mayor and members of the Commission. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. We have two public hearings for rezonings before you tonight. The first is for property located at the intersection of Manchester Highway and East Scum Road. The applicant owns property just a little further to the east of this property at 7650 East Scum Road that is zoned commercial services, the same designation they're asking for on the subject property tonight. It's utilized as a mini storage facility. The applicant would like to rezone the subject property, to commercial general, in order to use the subject property for additional storage of boats, recreational vehicles, and similar vehicles. Parking would be both open and covered, according to the concept plan submitted by the applicant, which is included on your iPads. Parking of motor vehicles is classified as automotive parking in the zoning ordinance, which is allowed by special exception only in the commercial general zone. If this zoning application is approved, an application to the Board of Zoning Appeals would also be required. An engineered site plan would be required after that, should it be approved tonight, and should it go to the Board of Zoning Appeals and receive approval for the special exception as well. A concept plan, again, has been included with your application materials and your iPads. Access to the property is shown to be proposed off of East Scum Road. This concept plan also shows a gate and kiosk for remote entry. This is a concept plan, so this is not a final design. It just kind of gives you an idea of the direction the applicant would like to go for developing the property. Paved parking would also be a requirement. Any new or modified access points to East Scum Road would be required to be approved by the Highway Department. Anything that would be proposed on Manchester Pike, even though he's not showing anything, if there were to be some, they'd be required to be approved by TDOT, as Manchester Highway is a state road. Again, verification of these requirements, along with landscaping and screening, and also our performance standards would be required, and those would be demonstrated upon a site plan submittal. This property is located along an urban-style corridor, which does anticipate non-residential uses. There is an existing convenience market to the southwest of the subject property, as well as the applicant's existing business, again, located just down the road on East Scum. Staff does anticipate a day where more intense uses would occupy this property, but we do feel this is an appropriate zoning. The Planning Commission did have some concerns about the appearance of the property and the rural character along Manchester Highway. It was discussed that the proposed use would also have to be approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals, as we discussed earlier, and at that time, reasonable conditions could be placed on the application to help mitigate some of those issues as far as the appearance of the property is concerned. The applicant did also discuss the property owner's intentions for the property, and after discussion, the Planning Commission did recommend approval by a vote of 8-4 and 1 against. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Any questions for Mr. DeMasi from the commissioners? I therefore call the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners meeting into recess to hold our public hearing on this request. The public hearing is now in session. Is there anyone desiring to speak for or against the issue? If you would, please come forward, state your name, address, whether you are for or against the proposed request. Seeing no one coming forward, I declare the public hearing closed and Rutherford County Board of Commissioners back into session. Is there a motion? Have a motion. Is there a second? There's a second. Any questions or discussion? Without objection, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carries. Mr. DeMasi.
Thank you, Mayor Ketchum. Our second and last rezoning for the evening is for property located at 2378 New Salem Highway, Highway 99. The applicant is requesting to rezone this subject property to commercial services. The Planning Commission and Board of Commissioners have considered and approved 3 other properties along this same stretch of New Salem Road this year, namely 2310, 28, and 48, and they all have received the same zoning classification of commercial services. According to the information provided by the applicant, the owners would like to facilitate neighborhood supporting retail by repurposing the existing structures or by developing new attractive retail buildings. And I'm reading this on your Again, this is all on your iPads. This is directly from the applicant's application, that materials that he submitted. His intent is to enhance the neighborhood by offering low-impact services while being extremely sensitive to the quality of life of nearby residential parcels. He gives some examples of appropriate services and talks about some others that he would like to exclude. I just want to make the board aware, as I made the Planning Commission and those who were in attendance that night aware, that with the commercial services classification, there's a list in our zoning ordinance of uses that are permitted in that zone, those that aren't permitted. So if a use comes in, even if that's not something he's intending, if he were to sell the property and somebody wanted to use it in a manner that was allowed by the zoning ordinance, that wouldn't be something that we could legally deny. So I just really wanted to make you aware of that. Access to this property would be and continue to be along New Salem Highway. The road in front of it is currently being widened to a 5-lane cross-section. It's been ongoing for a while, and it's probably got a little way to go, but they are making good progress out there. Any new or revised access points would have to be approved by TDOT, again, as Highway 99 is a state road. And any parking, everything that would have to show on the site plan regarding the parking areas, landscaping, performance standards, those kind of things would also have to be demonstrated that they can be met on an engineered site plan should this be approved. The applicant stated he did have a pending contract with a Montessori school for this particular piece of property. That is a permitted use in the commercial services zone. One of the neighbors who spoke had some questions about screening between the subject property and residential properties. This would require what's called a type 2 buffer. We have 3 levels of buffer, 1, 2, and 3. 2 is kind of middle of the road. 1 is the lightest, 3 is the heaviest, so this would be a type 2 buffer. There were also some questions about site improvements and what would and would not require Planning Commission approval. After discussion, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this request by a unanimous vote. And again, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. DeMasi? Seeing none, I call the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners meeting into recess to hold a public hearing on this request. The public hearing is now in session. Is there anyone desiring to speak for or against this issue? If you would, please come forward, state your name and address, and whether you're for or against the proposed request. Seeing no one coming forward, I declare the public hearing closed and the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners back into session. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Is there a second? And a second. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, without objection, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Director DeMasi. We are back. Chairman P., if you will, please come back to the well, and we will go back to item K1C, East College Street Tax Increment Financing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the mayor just announced, this is a tax increment financing. It's something we haven't done before. And basically, the quick synopsis of this is their property that we're looking at here is not on the current tax rolls for the county. It's owned by the city of Murfreesboro. And this actually works in contingent with them. This is something that's being done in other counties, Davidson, Williamson. The first time that we've looked at doing it. And basically, the county will not be out any funds. Normally, we go to our IDB board to do any kind of tax deferment. And basically what we're doing here, the money that the taxes are generated are actually being paid to us over a period of time, up to 15 years, and a maximum of $6 million, whichever comes first. Basically, the county is not out any money. We're not losing any money because this is not on the tax rolls currently. That's my quick take on this. We have some people that can come in and speak to this. There's about 8 pages of reference here on your iPad. I'm going to read about the first 4 or 5 paragraphs, and I'll stop there. Like I said, the rest of that you can read on your own, and I'll be happy, not myself to answer questions, but if you have detailed questions you want, Mr. Murphy from Bradley and Advent law firm is here, and he can help us with that if we need to suspend the rules. Having said all that, I'll go ahead with the resolution. Whereas the Industrial Development Board of Rutherford County, the board, is a public nonprofit corporation organized in existence under and by virtue of the provisions of Chapter 53, Title 7, Tennessee Code Annotated, as amended, the Act. And whereas the purpose of the said Act and stated therein being to authorize the incorporation in the several municipalities of the state of Tennessee of public corporations to finance, acquire, construct, own, lease, equip, and/or dispose of properties to the end that such corporations may be able to, among other things, maintain and increase employment opportunities by promoting industry, trade, commerce, tourism, and recreation by inducing manufacturing, industrial, government, educational, financial services, commercial, and recreational enterprises to locate or to remain in the state of Tennessee. And whereas the board desires to induce One East College, LLC, the company, to undertake a development called The Development, which will include commercial office, retail, restaurant, residential, and hotel use, together with a privately owned parking garage facility, and will serve both the users of the development and the public for the garage project, which garage project is anticipated to be composed of a 3.5-story garage with approximately 505 parking spaces, whereas the garage project is an eligible project within the meaning of TCA 753-101-15A, and whereas the board is authorized by the Act to, among other things, prepare and submit to the City Council of the City of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, the city, and to the Board of Commissioners of Rutherford County, Tennessee, for their approval, an economic impact plan pursuant to Section 312 of the Act, and whereas the board held a public hearing related to the proposal, the Industrial Development Board of Rutherford County, East College Street Historical Development Area, the plan. Attached hereto an Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference an approved plan pursuant to which the board would receive a certain property tax allocated to the board pursuant to Section 312H of the Act, and the plan, the available increment, and use the same for an incentive. The incentive to the company by using the available increment either to pay or reimburse the company for paying a portion of the eligible cost, such term and all other terms, the initial letter for which are capitalized and is not otherwise defined herein, shall have the meaning ascribed thereto in the plan of the garage project, or to provide financial assistance to fund a portion of the eligible costs of the garage project by borrowing money under a non-recourse note and providing the proceeds thereof to the company to reimburse it for the eligible cost of the garage project. Whereas the board is authorized by law and has deemed it necessary to provide the incentive pursuant to the terms of a certain funding agreement, the funding agreement to be entered into with the company. And whereas the county has been asked to approve the plan and incentive to the company. And I'm going to stop there and go to the other part here. And adopted and approved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners. I move that it be adopted and approved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners on the 17th day of October, 2019. Mr.
I have a motion and a second. Now, questions or discussion? Commissioner Gurley, you're recognized.
I guess I just have a rhetorical question, or we all think Rutherford County is a great place to live, work, and play. We're faced right now, I just saw an article that was in the DNJ that quoted Commissioner Allen regarding schools and so on. It's quoted in here about reduce unemployment. Thought unemployment was down about as low as it could get. I just wonder why we have to pay people to move here and then tax our constituents to build resources to handle those people. That's just food for thought.
Other questions or discussion? Seeing none. I have a motion and a second. We're on the board. If you would, members, please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote, Madam Clerk.
20 yes, 1 no, motion passes.
One thing I neglected to mention, it came out in budget on this, is no funds will be spent that are not generated by these people. They're basically going to send us a check. And two, if the first order of business that we do is to pay our current debt service, it has to be paid before any money would be paid toward the TIF. Hopefully that answered part of Commissioner Goodr.
There's a difference, Mr. Chairman, for those who were at both committee meetings that heard the presentation, there's a difference between a tax abatement and this TIF. So it's not like we're abating taxes. They will be paying taxes, but it goes only to the garage, which will be used for public use and repaid over that short period of time. So it's just abated and put back into that public use facility. So next item, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, the next item is item K1H, and this is actually the contract that we were going to vote on last month that we got the same day as our meeting, and we decided to hold that vote today instead of being rushed and you not having time to look over it. I'll read that resolution. Whereas the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office desires to enter into a performance contract agreement with the Siemens Industry Incorporated, Siemens, to improve the infrastructure and operating efficiency of the adult detention facility, and whereas Siemens has provided in the agreement and exhibits hereto to provide improvements of a retrofit to the LED lighting, water conservation appliances, HVAC units replacements, laundry room expansion, and controls of the kitchen hood at a cost of $2,394,816, with $718,445 being paid within 30 days of commencement of work, and the remainder balance paid in monthly progress payments based on percentage of completion. And whereas Siemens will provide a performance assurance service program to monitor the operations of the improvements so that Siemens can provide a report to compare the realized efficiency savings of the improvements to the guaranteed savings contained in Exhibit C, to agree at a cost of $226,568 to be paid in annual installments over the next 15 years as detailed in Exhibit B to the agreement. And whereas the work proposed shall commence 30 calendar days from the effective contract date and be completed no later than 365 calendar days thereafter. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the county mayor and all other appropriate officials of Rutherford County, Tennessee, and are hereby authorized to execute an agreement and exhibit thereto, subject to the approval of the county attorney, with Siemens, a copy of the same being attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference as if set forth herein at length verbatim, for improvements contained herein to the adult detention facility at a cost of $2,394,816, and the performance assurance services program at a cost of $226,568 to be paid in annual installment amounts over the next 15 years, as detailed in Exhibit B of the agreement, and additionally that the general fund be amended as follows to appropriate funds for the improvement project. increase expenditures, transfer to others, $2,394,816, and then a decrease in restricted fund balance of $1,197,408, and a decrease in an unassigned fund balance of $1,197,408. Resolved this 17th day of October, 2019. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Have a motion. Is there a second? A second. Any discussion, questions? Seeing none, you're on the board, members. Please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Please record the vote, Madam Clerk.
21 yes, motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, the last presentation for this evening is item K1I, and this is for your information only. We don't have to vote on this. This is a presentation of State Farm CTE-0253 for the new bond issuance. And basically, this is showing you the cost of the money that will be borrowed for the Motorola project. And if you have any questions, I would refer you to our County Finance Director.
Is there a motion? No motion. All right, members. Next, we have our Health and Education Committee. No report. Item number 3, Property Management Committee. No report. Public Safety Committee. Chairman Reed, Forensic Center.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is strictly a report this evening, Commissioners, and it is for information coming from the Public Safety Committee. We've had several things this evening discussed about growth here in Rutherford County, and you know whenever we hear growth and whenever we discuss growth, it either concerns schools, development, planning, infrastructure, or cost. And what I'm going to discuss something tonight is totally different from anything else that we ever hear when we're talking about growth. When it comes to county emergency medical services and our ambulance services, I would compare them to anything we have within the state of Tennessee. They're excellent in what they do, and they involve a lot of different things as far as the citizens of Rutherford County are concerned. And their budget is one that they work hard at. And we, as a public safety committee, we look at each month and go over with a fine-tooth comb. But within that budget and on that page of medical services, it looks a lot like this that we see. And any of you that are a member of that committee, you know what that looks like. And as you go through there, you'll see different costs that the emergency medical services has on it. And there'll be everything on there from even the cost of batteries that they put in the ambulances, the supplies they have in there, what they have had to do to repair, as well as all the different collections they have made for calls and things of that type. But there's also one item in there. It seems like a lot of times that whenever people looks at the budget of the ambulance service or medical services, there's one item that is right in here that's quite small, and it's one that is growing every year. And it's an item that says fees paid for autopsies in Rutherford County. And yes, this evening we've talked about growth, and I think it was mentioned over here, people are coming to this county to enjoy what we have here, to make a living and whatever, but people also pass away within this county. Autopsies today for a person in Rutherford County, if they have to have an autopsy, is costing $1,875, and that's what it's costing for the county. Since July, 2 months within our budget right now, this county has already had 71 autopsies performed. That's a large number. So as of today, and we've looked at that figure today, we've already spent $133,125 on autopsies from our budget. If it continues the way that it's doing at this time, we could be pushing the 300 mark, possibly one of the largest numbers we have had ever, looking at a cost fairly close to $600,000 that comes out of our budget, a budget that reaches somewhere around $1 million or better than $1 million, where we're putting $600,000 from that. So what I'm giving you information on this evening is, for the past 2 meetings, we have been discussing a subject that we're wanting to go further, and members of our committee have suggested that we present this also, or to keep you informed what we're talking about and what we're looking at as far as Public Safety Committee is concerned. And that's the possibility of a forensic center within this county. Now, some of you may be asking, so why would you want that to happen? Well, if you look at the cost, if you look at the numbers we have here, we're one of the leading counties within the Middle Tennessee area, omitting Davison County. But where autopsies are performed currently, they're in Davison County. And there's one facility within Davison County that performs those autopsies. The state of Tennessee has that facility, but it's operated by a private concern. In fact, they've recently put out bids to individuals to see if they want to take care of that service, and they only got one group that wanted to perform it. East Tennessee currently has a very good facility up there where they can handle a large number of autopsies for the East Tennessee area, dealing with or working alongside East Tennessee State University up there. The reason we're making a suggestion here is that we currently have a good university here too. Middle Tennessee State University has recently started a medical program along with Meharry University. A student now can come to Middle Tennessee State University and get their pre-med and then finish up at Meharry. In fact, we just recently, and I think you'll possibly have seen this on the news, where we had 6 students that started their freshman year, starting with Middle Tennessee State out here, and they signed an agreement saying that when they completed their training as doctors, that they would return to rural areas to practice. That's something almost unheard of in this day and time, because a lot of our doctors go into specialties. They go into other areas. But these individuals said they're going into the rural areas. And you almost consider Murfreesboro still a rural area, and the areas around it that they can go into and practice, which they're doing from this university along with Meharry. Now, that program just didn't happen either. That come from our state legislature to begin, and if you want to know who the leader of that project was to get that program going, he's sitting back here behind me when he was a state senator, and I want to give him some credit for that tonight, of pushing that project a little bit out there and to get it done, and it's done right here from this university. Also at the university that we have here, they have also begun a really good forensic program where you can go out there and get a degree in forensic science. And they have some of the top forensic pathologists in the nation teaching out here. So what we're looking at is possibility of a forensic center located in Rutherford County to take care of the costs that we're seeing, as well as within the Middle Tennessee area of other counties that are going to Nashville. Now, just say we're wanting to do this is just not a reason to do it. But what we're having right now, due to the fact of Nashville, and the only site that's there, is the backlog that we're having. It currently takes a very long time for an autopsy to go and come back. and you can understand that you have the grief on the family to begin with, that when you have this extended time as well on the family waiting to hear the results, it's just not fair to the citizens of Rutherford County who has to deal with this, that if possibly we can do this, it could be possibly something that would benefit our citizens of Rutherford County. So we're not just thinking about this as some way of spending money or some way of making money. It's something that we're doing that will be beneficial to the citizens of Rutherford County. So we have taken a look at what this would involve. At our last meeting, we had 3 individuals, Dr. Lori McDonald, Dr. Adele Lewis, and Dr. Denise Martin, who is a death investigator, address our committee and go over what is involved today and what's going on with this, and giving us some insight onto this. This just hasn't happened overnight either. Back in 2017, there was a set of white papers done here in Rutherford County on what it would take to begin a forensic center here in Rutherford County. A total detail, and our own director of our emergency services, Carl Hudgens, I believe, Carl, you still sitting out here, right back here, has done a detailed study on what we could do, and it's the possibility of Rutherford County being able to perform this situation. What we're doing right now, we are looking at reworking these 2017 white pages due to the fact of the numbers now from 2017 to today have tremendously changed. The autopsy rates are going up. It's going up each and every day. And you may say, well, why is that happening? Because there are more situations that involve an autopsy, whereas the state requires it, law enforcement requires it. Any suspicious death requires an autopsy. A child's death requires an autopsy in many situations because there are a lot of unknowns that are involved in it. It just happens that way, and that's why our numbers are increasing, and we have a lot of people in Rutherford County today. We just have to face that, and these are things we're having to do there. What we're thinking about and looking at, that if we could use the university and Meharry Medical and put together a center here in Rutherford County, that possibly the university might become a school that would also teach this situation, where we would basically be putting our money for the autopsies there and working that direction. Or it may become a Rutherford County facility where we would charge other counties to come this way. Wilson County is starting to experience the same situation. Bedford County is the same situation. Marshall County is the same situation. Counties all around us are having the same situation, and they're caught in the same catch-two, I'm going to say catch-two, because they're having to sit there and wait. You've got to sit there and wait your turn. You know how many drawers we have in Nashville? Am I not right, Carl? 2? Here in the hospital, we have 2 drawers for bodies to stay in. 2 is all we have here. There's also the possibility of what do you do in a situation where there's a catastrophe, when you have a large number of individuals. Where do you go with that? We also are looking at that in that particular situation. So what we're doing as a committee and what we're asking, we're going to redo the white papers that we have here to get more information. The mayor is talking to the university out here. We're also talking to the state of Tennessee to see what are the possibility of doing this. Now, I know you're sitting there in your mind, well, why hasn't somebody else done this? Well, I can't venture that far out. That's sort of like I guess Henry Ford wondering why somebody else hadn't invented the car. What we're looking at is, why can't we do this for the citizens of Rutherford County? And we've thrown out all of those bad ideas too. And this come out the other night, said, are we in 10 years? 10 years, we're going to wish we hadn't have done this? Are we getting into something we don't really want to get into? We're wanting to look at all these possibilities and see if that is a problem and where we're going there. The thing you have to remember is that they come here, we return them back to the county, and we give them the answers. So we become a service to those counties as well if we do this. So what we're here tonight, or what I'm here for tonight, is representing the Public Safety Committee to explain to you what we're looking at, to give you the answers and what we're talking about, to keep you informed, where we're just not out here doing something, but we're out here trying to see if this is a possibility. We haven't voted on doing anything. I think the motion was made by Commissioner Rather that we just go on to look at this to see what the possibilities are. So I'm available for questions. Our director is here tonight. He's done as much study as anyone you would want to know on this. He has all these answers. And we think it's a good idea, but we're going to make sure before we come any further and bring it back to the commission to do anything. Now, I think at the original idea when it was brought in 2017, the possibility of a center, if it was built, was $3.5 million. Is that correct, Carl? And I mean, we even have positions and what it would take to do a center like this, much like the one up in East Tennessee. Anyone have any questions? Ms. Cook?
Like numbers. But on your numbers here, for 2008, 108, what was the population of the county at that time?
That's what you're looking at right there.
That was the number of autopsies.
It's in here. Carl, do you remember those numbers?
And that's what I was looking to compare these numbers that you have given us on autopsies to the number of people in the county. And so when I was elected in 90, it was 115,000, and now it's over 300,000. And I think we need to compare the population. I'm not against it, and there's going to be more things that we're going to have to address as this county grows, and we're going to have to think out of the box.
Yes, ma'am. You're totally right. And when you're talking about those numbers right there, we were also having a different situation as facilities were concerned, as far as autopsies were concerned at that time too, I think. This has gotten to be a situation in Nashville that just isn't working for us the way it is, where it should be. So
Does the families pay and so forth?
we'll be looking at this. Carl, do you know that? On an autopsy, this is a county charge, isn't it? Yeah, that is, I don't know if you could hear him or not. The number that is used for this, for every 1,000, there is considered one autopsy for every 1,000 within your county population, is the way that's figured.
I know at one time we talked about families paying for it. That's before your time.
That's what he was saying. Come up here, Carl. Let me bring you the expert.
Don't we need to suspend the rules?
As I told him today, I wanted him close by. I said, I bring the expert anytime we can.
Yeah. Let me suspend the rules, Chairman Pettis, if we could, and go into recess. Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Right.
Motion, second. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carries. We stand in recess. Director Hudgens.
Question was on having the families pay for it, and they still can if it's something that we're not investigating. If we don't have a reason to believe that we need an autopsy, the family does have an option of having a private autopsy done.
I knew it was optional, not optional, but some could be charged, some were not charged because of the situation.
Right. We never charged the family for an autopsy because it's been investigated. There are several reasons why we do an autopsy is unexplained deaths. Children under the age of 1, unless they were born with a pre-existing condition and is expected. But age doesn't determine the reason for an autopsy. But if we can't explain why that person passed away, that is why we have an autopsy.
I know families sometimes request an autopsy.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, can we charge that from when, some of this is going to have to be looked into, I know that.
If we own a center, well, the way we do it right now, if the family requests one, basically what I do is I give them the phone number to the forensic center in Nashville, and they make the arrangements. I assist them when I can, but the county doesn't have any involvement as far as the payment on that. You're welcome.
Any other questions for the director?
When I initially heard about this, it scared me a little bit about additional expenses, new department, new personnel, additional expenses when it's being performed right now. After digging into it a little bit, I learned that there is potential for this being a teaching center for the state of Tennessee, and maybe even beyond the state of Tennessee, which would create additional revenues for that department. Also, the involvement of MTSU and schooling MTSU students, it would be an excellent opportunity and partnership for us to continue to grow that relationship with MTSU. And just the fact that there would be out-of-county autopsies being performed here at the cost of those counties to help offset the overhead of operating that makes this center much more reasonable to assume that it would be a success and not a tax burden to the taxpayers of the county. And I got a little bit more interested in it as we talked about it a little bit further. I think this needs further discussion and consideration. If you guys will remember the Juvenile Detention Center, when we built that, we help offset the overhead of that by bringing in juveniles from other counties and charging those other counties to detain those juveniles for whatever reason. So that was successful and continues to be successful, and I can kind of sort of compare this to that juvenile detention center and realize that the cost in essence to operate that might not be nearly as expensive as operating a facility such as a school or something like that, simply because of the potential revenue that this thing could actually generate and the interest that the state has in helping us secure a situation like this. I think maybe there's also some opportunities for the state to help. But just to kind of piggyback on what Commissioner Reed said a minute ago, when this was first brought, the first hour that I listened to it, I was skeptical, but the second hour that I got into it, it seemed to be more reasonable, and Murfreesboro and Rutherford County seems to be the place that a lot of folks have an interest. And once again, that connection with MTSU is one of the big reasons that this would have a potential to be, in my mind, to be very successful in this county. And I would encourage this commission to look further and explore further and see how this could affect and provide an assistance not only to the citizens of the county, but to the region as a whole.
Any other comments for the director? Commissioner McAdoo?
Well, I think it's an excellent idea. It's one thing that we didn't bring up is the transportation costs. Transportation costs of keeping our ambulances and our emergency personnel within the city, within the county of Rutherford. Also, I would like for you to maybe explore this with Christy Houston. I think they would be glad to assist in a program like this. It's a very needed program, no doubt in my mind and no doubt in anybody's mind sitting in here. And we look at the cost of maybe $3 million, we can offset that cost because as our Commissioner Phillips said, we started with the juvenile center and we offset a lot of that cost by including other counties in the central area.
Other comments for the director? Seeing none, thank you. Director Hudgens, we'll come back out of recess. We'll back into order. Thank you, sir. Other comments or questions about forming the exploratory committee from Public Safety Committee? Seeing none.
Just as you said, Commissioner McAdoo, those are great ideas, and these are things that we are including in this committee and going that way. Ladies and gentlemen of the commission, we will keep you informed what we're doing there, and if you would like to see the discussion from the individuals we had the other night, I suggest you look on the YouTube of that meeting and hear the discussion, because they did an outstanding job explaining what this would involve. Appreciate your time. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, I'd like to go back on previous action by this board. The chair would like to get some clearer direction. Commissioner Phillips, you previously stated when we were discussing item number 7 on the transfer of remnant parcels to bump that from this agenda to the next agenda, but there was no motion to send it back to property management. If that is your intent to let it go back through the committee, I would like to have you make a motion to that effect. I move
that item 7H on the resolution to approve the consent agenda be referred back to property management.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, thank you, sir. All in favor, signify. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question. Did this not come through property management? Has property management not seen it already? Because if they have, I'm just curious what's open left to discuss. I'm not clear on why it's being pulled.
Commissioner McAdoo.
As the committee members know, we had a lengthy discussion about this, and even to the point of if commissioners wanted to go out and view this property, we could. I went out but what we heard is not what we're hearing now. What we heard is that maybe it'd be, first of all, they said, well, we want to turn this property or get rid of it, turn it over to the city of Smyrna because we can't afford to cut the grass. If you want to know what it was said. That was the first thing said. Second thing brought up was said that now we're looking at potentially putting a fire department right there and with a school right there. Yeah, that's a real good idea. But the city of Smyrna hadn't approved anything. Not one thing. That's the reason we want to send it back to our committee. As we met on it, we were under the impression that the city of Smyrna and everybody was gung-ho and okay with going this route. But as of tonight, we're hearing something different. So that's the reason we want to pull it off and send it back to committee.
Any other discussion? We just don't have confirmation if Smyrna Council has actually passed that request. Their planning commission. So I think that's where the question arose tonight. You know, if it's going for fire hall, I don't think there'll be any objection going forward. But I think if if the planning commission hasn't passed it, we'd like to have their body to give us some clear direction. If they just want us to give it to them so they can sell it for retail, I think that might create another issue. Okay. So we're back on the motion and a second to send it back, refer it back to the Property Management Committee. Any questions, discussions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much on that issue. We are now to Steering Legislative Governmental Committee, no report. Members, before we go into executive session, I know on your agenda it's listed as... Yes, sir. Commissioner Piercy.
I know there was no report out of Public Works and Planning.
Yes, sir.
But I've become a little confused about the new committee that has been created by Mr. Cush, and I would like for him to maybe explain to us what that committee is going to be for and what it's going to do. Give him opportunity, and
sure.
if they have met and made any progress, maybe give a report. If they
Commissioner Cush, you've...
No objection.
Yeah, without objection, we'll defer. Commissioner Cush, your name's been called, so if you could give us an explanation of what your subcommittee is doing.
To clarify, are you inquiring about the Infrastructure Committee or the second Public Works Solid Waste? Infrastructure Committee, okay. Can I turn around? Is it better if I turn around?
You can come to the well if you like. I'm not sure a cord would reach that far.
All right. The SIC Committee, Select Infrastructure Committee, otherwise known as SIC Committee, has met twice. Most recently this week, we met in room 205, and we had a very good and strong meeting. We had, I may get the number wrong, but we had about 5 representatives from the Homeowners Association, various developers, and builders, which we sought out their input in hopes to partner and understand what our dilemma is. And they were very receptive. It was not a message that was new to them. They hear the same message in other neighboring counties where they do business and build houses and sell houses. We talked about a number of topics, and we are moving forward with ideas that we will hope to present to this full committee either in the November or December full commission. But more importantly, we are meeting again in 2 weeks, and we have asked the mayor to extend an invitation to some city mayors and, more importantly, representatives of our legislative body to come and sit with us and these developers to chat about some changes that need to be made in Nashville to give us some freedom to do what we want to do. And I think that's really all I want to go into at this point, if that's okay, Mr. Piercy, unless you have some specific questions.
Can you tell me your goal?
Our goal, yes. Our ultimate goal, which has been our goal from day one, is to find other means of revenue to help improve roads and infrastructure as we defined it a couple of commission meetings ago. Revenue other than property tax increase is the main goal. So we're coming up with options. Some of those options may include a user fee that will affect all of us, but also a fee or an assessment or a swapping of dollars perhaps that may be more on the developer side, involvement, participation. So they understand. We're making some headway, but what we've got to have is support from our legislators. Nothing will move without them agreeing to our side and the developer side. What we have always kind of heard in the past is the reason why we can't change the Powers Act and the reason we can't increase development tax and the reason we can't add other taxes is because the lobbyists for the developers and the real estate agents and the homeowner association is very strong. No doubt in my mind it's very strong. But now these same people who sat down with us in this meeting this week say, we understand your problem, we understand there's a need for change, we can help you. So now we want to get our legislatures in front of us with us, the commission, city mayors, and the developers, and as a group, talk to our legislatures, and now see what they have to say to us. So that's what we hope to achieve. Is there a date? Yes, sir. Mr. Dodd, can you help me out? It is next October 29th, is that correct? October 29th at 11:30 in room 205, if my memory serves me right. Maybe the 30th? Rachel is going to send out, I'm sorry? 29th. 29th. And Rachel has, as she will do, it is posted in the media, so everybody will have an opportunity to know about the meeting and welcome all comers. We had a pretty decent audience for the last one, so does that help?
I apologize for putting you on the spot, but I was led today to believe that it had something to do with what we were going to do with our trash issue. And from what you have told me, you said nothing about that, and I thank you.
It has zero to do with our trash issue. That's another sick committee.
So
11:30 a.m. Bring your own lunch.
Oh, Chairman Cush, I got a question. I haven't attended. You had one in Williamson County, is that correct? That's correct. Okay, and then the one here. I didn't attend either one. I was under the impression that you're going to deal with roads, traffic, and also waste stream.
No.
So this is strictly looking for funding. Are you planning another SIC committee for waste stream?
What you may be confused is we also, Public Works, and maybe this is where the confusion comes, Commissioner Piercy, the Public Works Committee is also adding a second meeting separate from our monthly meeting that is only focused on solid waste discussion. Okay? That first meeting is next Wednesday at 5:30 at room 205.
And are these the same?
No.
Makeup of
this is the Public Works Committee as it stands.
Gotcha.
This is not a select committee. This is the Public Works Committee meeting a second time of the month, because we have quickly realized that you cannot solve the solid waste challenges in an hour and a half's discussion once a month. So we are extending that to a second meeting. And there will be no reports. The codes is not involved, highway report not in. This is strictly a solid waste, open roundtable discussion. So that may be where you get confused.
So on your second meeting, let's make sure that you get Rachel and proper notices given with 3-day notice in the newspaper, because this is a little bit different, but we just want to make sure that we're not breaking any sunshine laws and everybody is aware through public notice.
I think Rachel's clear. I'm sorry? Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
She and I have spoken.
Okay. Thank you.
Did that help? Did that help?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Absolutely. Any other questions concerning that? Members, before we go into executive session, item L, without objection, I would like to take any other business before, because we'll go into executive session and basically clear our chamber. And while we have other business to come before us, statements and announcements, I'd like for at least the people here might be able to like to attend some of the statements and announcements that will be made. So I will open it up for any other business for statements and announcements. And I know Mr. P has one because there's a ham breakfast coming up in his district. And that's, he talks about his black eye, but he says the other guy looked worse. Okay, all right.
He had airbags.
He had airbags, right? Okay.
Oh, yes, there is a country ham breakfast at the Kittrell Volunteer Fire Department this Saturday, October the 19th. Starts at 6 a.m., runs to 10. And we would love to have you come by and visit with us.
Sure.
There's also pancakes for you guys that don't eat ham.
Pancakes too. It's always good stuff with red eye gravy, right? Any other statements and announcements? Commissioner Reed.
All of you that are needing your Thanksgiving turkey or ham or bacon or whatever you need there, the Rockville Rulton Club's getting ready for their turkey shoot again on November the 9th. So everybody get those guns all clean and ready to go. And we'd just like you to come out there and enjoy the fellowship with everybody. That's on a Saturday, and like to see you there.
At 12 gauge only? Can you bring a 10 gauge with a?
You can bring whatever you want to.
All right.
As long as it's shotgun.
What's the date?
The 9th.
9th. Okay, Rockville turkey shoot. Commissioner Allen, health and education, you want to make an announcement about for our county employees starting tomorrow, I believe, is our, if you have the details.
Tomorrow afternoon from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Lane Agri Park, there'll be the employee health fair, and there'll be folks there who will be helping them with their open enrollment, as well as all the other various activities and things. They're trying to make it as family friendly as possible and also as convenient as possible for all the employees to go ahead and come on out. This is kind of the kickoff for open enrollment.
That's the first time I believe Risk Management has ever tried this, so it's going to be a nice affair, and sometimes, you know, our open enrollment is due, I think, it closes on the 29th or 30th of this month. So if you have difficulty or get scared about, you know, re-enrolling and seeing what your benefits are this year that the county is providing for you, be a good opportunity. I think St. Thomas is going to bring their mammogram bus. They're going to have blood pressure, other booths will be set up to just make all of our employees more healthy thinking and conscious about taking care of themselves and providing good health insurance. Any other statements and announcements? Sir? Yes. Okay. Just a moment, and I'll recognize you. All right. Commissioner Rather.
Forgot what I was going to say. No,
Sorry.
I'm kidding. I have a statement, but then I have a question for Commissioner Allen, some clarification. Some of you in this room have been to accidents and saw the deceased and the dismemberment and the blood and everything else. I came to this meeting and have been upset ever since because Commissioner P showed me a video of him getting hit on a tractor. I've had some good friend of mine's dad or grandfather got killed by a tractor because it rolled over on him. I wish you'd watch the video, because if you've never seen God's sovereign protection over someone, this is a walking example. Commissioner P. and I have not, we've had our disagreements, but we can still be friends and carry on with the county's business. But I just want to make the statement that there is a God, and there's proof of it with him sitting here, because there is no reason that tractor did not flip and he didn't get killed. And if you don't believe it, watch the video. So I just thank God Commissioner P. is here tonight. My question is, that health fair, just not to cut you off, but is that health fair, if I understood correctly, it's not just one day, isn't it? Are there other times for that same health fair?
This particular health fair is like a festival, and it is just tomorrow from 3 until 7.
Any other statements and announcements? Commissioner Harris.
A lot of you know that I'm very close, and I've been dealing with the opioid epidemic. And Representative Mike Sparks is having a town hall on October 29th at Parkway Baptist Church in Smyrna. I'll be one of the panel speakers, and I hope that you will at least come out and hear what we got to say about mental illness and the opioid epidemic. And if you got any questions, let me know, and I appreciate it. 6:30.
Commissioner Gammon.
Commissioner, I believe maybe what you were thinking about, there is some where HR is going to be helping employees do the insurance, and I think that goes into November, doesn't it? Yeah, for enrollment and everything. So I mean, that's the fair, but they're going to have
that is correct. That's correct. This is just a one-day kind of fair event to try to get as many people to come by that have questions, don't help you with enrollment. They'll be shutting down the risk management office about 12 o'clock tomorrow, so they can go out and get set up with the booths and taking their laptops and et cetera, be able to get you online, get you enrolled if you have any questions about your dental plan, health plan, or anything else. So thank you for that announcement. Any other statements and announcements? Seeing none, members, I believe Mr. Moreland, who spoke earlier, would like to say something else, but I'll have to entertain a motion to suspend the rules if the commission would like to hear what he has to say. I'm sorry? Have a motion. Is there a second? I have a motion and a second for another additional 3 minutes.
It's an amendment to it.
As an amendment.
Is the amendment second? Okay.
You okay with that?
All right.
All right, a 3-minute rule. Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carries. Mr. Moreland, you have 3 minutes, sir.
I will speak from here.
No, sir. We're recording. On video. Yes, sir.
I will not go 3 minutes.
All right. Thank you.
I would like to apologize to the commission. I've just been informed that the city did all that work, not you. So please accept my apology. I like your place. I like the way it's ran. I do not understand the Robert's Rule of Order that you're using. It's not the book I read. But again, my apologies, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Robert keeps us in order, otherwise we'd have chaos, so thank you, sir. All right, members, we are to the last item on the agenda, which is executive session. So we'll give everyone about 2 minutes. We'll go into executive session. We'll ask all guests and other members in our gallery, please exit our chamber. We will stand in recess for a few minutes until we get ready to hear from our attorney. I don't think there's any reason to wait, right? I have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All in favor say aye. We're adjourned. Thank you. Have a good evening.